So what if I told you that all of my newsletters on my Substack is completely written by AI, more specifically Claude Code. So for the past 6 months, I've been using Claude Code to write my newsletters, and I use my newsletters specifically to promote an offer that I sell in my business. So in this video, I'm going to go over exactly how I use Claude Code to write newsletters for me that generate sales in my business. For example, this is an exact newsletter that I've written at the end of this video. As you can see, it's written in a way that sounds human, sounds natural, sounds like my voice, has visuals that points out concepts. You know, it has different sections, section 1, 2, and 3, and then all the way down, it has a CTA to buy an offer. And you can see this is quite comprehensive, getting AI to connect concepts and ideas step by step. So let's dive in. Quick note before I get into this, the skill system is an intellectual property that I'm selling inside of my community. So what I'm walking you through is in this video is the architecture. So you can see how the pieces fit and build your own version. Or if you'd like to get access to the skill system, you can choose to sign up below to join my community. All right, so I built a skill system on Claude Code that writes my daily newsletter for me. And it's actually a series of skills that chain together. So I don't write anymore. I just direct Claude, and Claude has this SOP or like the skill system where it calls multiple skills, and it's able to write in a way that sounds like me and actually makes sense. Because if you look at AI, the way AI writes is just random stuff. So I went ahead and created a big visual over here. So I'm going to go over it very quickly. This might be a little bit too complex, but throughout the demonstration, you can see how this comes all together. So as you can see, the main thread, or this is what would look like when I talk with the orchestrated agent or with Claude Code. These would be all the steps. So step 1 would be the transformation. Step 2 would be the title, which would be determined from the transformation. And step 2, I have a skill that Claude uses to create titles. I have specialist skills for that. Then I have Claude write a hook. Claude uses the write hook skill to know how to write that. So that's a step 3. And then it uses a writing voice skill, so it knows how to write the hook to sound like me, myself. So as you can see, there's a lot of like specialist skills and forked skills that happen over here. Now, what a forked skill is a skill that is run by a sub-agent that's not within the main agent. So the main thread is the main agent, and then forked skills are just another sub-agent that does something on the side. Okay, so that's step 3. Then step 4 is Claude will go into planning out the sections. Okay, it will use a what, why, where cycle, which is a framework that I use. Then it will use this framework called seed framework, which is called show, extend, expose, and then direct. So I have a skill for that Claude will pull in, so it knows how to do it. And then it's going to create this concept chain where Claude knows how, okay, these are the concepts that we're going to be talking about, and these are how we're going to order them so they all land and make logical sense. Okay, so I have a skill for that teaches Claude how to create the logic chain, so it makes sure that things make sense. Then once it goes through this is kind of like the planning section. So we know the transformation, we know the title, we know the hook, we know what sections are going to go over. We map out how we're going to explain those concepts using the seed framework, and we have it all aligned in a concept so it all makes sense, so it all logically connects. Then we save it into a planning markdown. So that's the output over here, so output lane. Now, once we get the output, Claude then gets into the writing section, which is the phase 3. So we just went to phase 1, phase 2. Phase 3 is the writing section. So what Claude will do is Claude will write each section following the style of writing using the seed stages. And after it writes a section, a sub-agent or basically a skill in a sub-agent with a skill with human reviewer will then review that section and make sure that, okay, we need to remove all the AI slop that AI writes. Because if you ask AI to write like a human, it will always default back to run like AI slop. So I find it much better to just use it as a filter. Let AI write and then just filter out of it. Let it focus on 2 things. Because if you try to make it focus on 2 goals at once, it will fail really miserably. Okay, so it does that again for section 1, 2, and 3. And every time the main agent writes, a sub-agent will review it. So section 1, 2, 3, and CTA will review it. Then once it's done, then we have a full review using the writing humanize, where we have another sub-agent that reviews the whole section or the whole newsletter one more time just to review it. Then section 12B, step 12B is something that I added recently. I really like this, is I have this specialized skill that gives Claude exactly how to think persuasively using behavioral science. So we'll go through this and we'll figure out, okay, what are areas that we could add in some phrases that'll make us sound more persuasive. So we'll do that and we'll add it in. Once it's done, then we'll do one final review on voice. It'll make sure that everything is clear, is points something, and it sounds like me. Then it will go through a formatting skill. Once done the formatting, we'll format it for Substack, and then it will run a visual content skill. And then finally, we'll embed that into the newsletter, and then we'll publish and so on. So you can see how this is a lot of steps in order to get newsletters. So if you were to ask Claude, hey, write me a newsletter, AI slop, it won't sound like you. So this took me around 6 months of working, trying to get Claude to actually sound like me, building up all of these skills together and chaining them in a way where it builds out this workflow. So yeah, let's dive in and I'll show you the output at the end of the video. All right, so the first step that I do before I write a newsletter is I try to have clarity on how I want the newsletter to look like. Because if I just give AI a random idea, it might do an okay job, but if I have crystal clear clarity on how I want the newsletter to look like, then I'm able to get better outputs, and I can pretty much guide AI to write better. Now, my philosophy here is the first 10% of doing anything that work that is complex, especially with writing. Writing is one of those tasks that is very volatile. There's a lot of variety. It's not clearly like testable. Like with math, it's objective. I can say yes, pass or fail. But with writing, it's subjective. So you sort of need to give AI more of the guidance and some more guidelines to follow along. So before I dive into the workflow, the first thing I did was I put together this brief. So before I record this video, so I went through and gave some clarity on how I want this to look like, how I want this newsletter to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new chat over here, and we're going to get started with creating the newsletter. Hey Claude, I'd like us to write a newsletter for today. The topic is going to be on how to get AI to generate wealth in your business. So this on the left side is a newsletter brief. So this is what I'm going to be using to copy paste to Claude over time, just so I have a clear idea. Now, you don't need to write this all the time. You can just go ahead and share what you have with use a skill and so on. And again, real quick, this is a skill that I'm not giving out for free. So if you do not want to watch this, you can click off right now. But if you do want to get the skill, it will be available in my community as a plugin that you could use to help you write newsletters if that's something that you're interested in. Or if you're just curious to see how I structure and how this process would look like, you can continue watching. Okay, so I can see here that Claude now is pulling up the workflow for the newsletter. And in the workflow, it looks like this. So it has all of these steps going over everything required to do the skill. Okay, so it's identified. I already have a newsletter, which I created before. Now it's reading the newsletter brief. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so it read through the brief. I mean, I could share this step by step. That works, but I'm just going to have Claude go through the brief. So it's going to go through step 1, which is to confirm the transformation. So the first step whenever I write a newsletter is I want AI, or even me when I write, is I want to have crystal clear clarity on what is the big perspective shift. What is the transformation that people are going to have after they read this content piece? And then I do have a document where I call my philosophy document, which is kind of like my methodology, the beliefs that I have, that I want every content piece to match the beliefs that I have. So it builds this movement or this following or audience. So when people follow me, they get this feeling like they relate to the philosophy that I preach. So I do have a document on that. So let me pull that over here so you guys can see. Open preview. So for me, in terms of business, the purpose of wealth is freedom. So it has that. What does it mean to be a chief leverage officer? The paradigm shift. I believe in deep thinking over deep work, at least nowadays, because work can be done by AI. And then I have like other stuff over here. Game theory of business, levels of operating your business, value spectrum, 4 forms of leverage, AI first, layer 1, layer 2, how to get AI, business X-ray, and so on. So like all of the big ideas that I believe in, AI has access to that. So I can correlate to what to write to the philosophy that I preach. If you've been watching videos about Claude Code and Claude skills, you already know that Claude Code is different. Most AI tools might save you a little bit of time here and there, but Claude Code can act as your operating system, running your business. Now, most business owners understand the potential of Claude Code, But where they struggle is having it actually set up in their business as an operating system to do 80% of the work in their business. So I'm launching a small community where our goal is just that, to help you set up Claude Code as your main business operating system so that you can get 80% of the work done by AI. So here's what we'll build together. Number one, we're going to map out your business. So in 30 minutes, you'll know exactly which parts of your business AI should be running, what to build first, and what in what order. You don't need to map out your business. Claude will interview you and map it out all for you. Step number two is we'll look where in your business can we build a skill system. So a skill system is a network of skills that allows AI to run end-to-end pipelines in your business. So skill systems will exist in marketing, operations, client delivery, and sales in your business. Finally, once we build robust skill systems, we'll then have those skill systems run automatically via a trigger, a webhook, or a routine or schedule. So now once your skill is running reliably, the next step is monetizing and deploying this skill so other people can benefit from the skills you've built and so you can make money out of it. So here's where we'll package your skill systems into plugins. Think of plugins kind of like giving people access to your AI infrastructure that they could rent on a subscription. Now with this model in mind, you're able to onboard as many clients as you want without needing to serve them directly one-to-one with your time. So whenever a problem arises, all you have to do is fix a plugin and that'll fix all the problems for all of your clients at once. So that's the goal in our community, to focus on these 4 phases. If you'd like to join us, I'll put more information in the link below. You'll also get access to these complementary skills in our community, and you'll also get access to support required for you to help you build AI infrastructure in your business. Now, if you're interested in that, click the link below and I'll see you inside. Okay, so let's continue over here. So phase 1, direction. I use AI to earn more income, saves me more tasks. 2, I use AI to generate wealth. Assets to earn while I sleep. Okay, perfect. Audience, business owners, core value, AI employees. Okay, great. So now it's going to go through the title development. The reason why I picked title first is because if you understand the title, everything goes from the title. How people meet you where you're at, you need to sort of take them on a journey. Because if you say a random title and you do not deliver on it, then people won't really click. So the title is how you get people, you pull people into your world. So I use this thing called so what 5 times to get the title, and then I have a skill that Claude uses to create the title. So over here, the reason your AI isn't making you wealthy yet, stop using AI to earn more hours, use it to earn while you sleep. The 3 sides you need to, or AI says a chatbot, how to wire AI so it earns while you sleep, why most owners will never get wealthy from AI. I like number 5. So I can pick 5. So this is one of those cases where I like to pick based on title, because that is something that you have better taste and judgment from AI. I mean, I could technically here create a criteria or a rubric and AI could pick automatically. I could then voice out my taste and judgment, but sometimes it doesn't really do that. Like for example, give the recommendation to 3 sides you need, or AI says a chatbot. I mean, that's okay, but like it doesn't actually have like a high frequency element to it. If I would change that, I would say the 3 sides you need. The 3 sides you need, like it's not clear. But why most owners will never get wealthy from AI is something that is sort of clear. Like there's something there. How to wire AI so it earns while you sleep. I mean, it's okay, but like it's not that clear. So like how to set up AI in 3 steps so it earns you money while you sleep. That might be better. So these are things that probably could improve the skill here. Again, like as you work with stuff, skills are always improving. Yeah, I'm going to go with number 5. Okay, so phase 1 is I have this thing called ABT framework, which pretty much starts with and. So like you introduce someone to a world, something's going on, but there's a problem. Therefore, this happens, and this is what needs to happen after. So this is what it does. So most business owners now use AI daily for emails, summaries, and first drafts of content. They feel productive ahead of the curve, and they assume wealth will follow because they move faster than the holdouts. But they keep filling every saved hour with more operating work, so income flatlines and freedom never arrives. Wealth from AI follows a different setup where there are 3 specific sides have to be wired before AI can earn while you sleep. So I don't like the 3 sides. There, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, architecture choice. Okay, so now once the reason why I give AI ABT format or ABT blueprint, I got this from the book called Narrative Gym, is because I want AI to sort of think of a story method. Because if AI just writes by itself, it's super objective, direct. It doesn't have like a a story structure to it. So when I give it this way, it's able to understand the beats and what it takes to write the story. So now it's going to use that blueprint, and then it will use that to write a hook. Okay, so I asked it, well, I was asking you to change it from 3 sides to assets. It makes it better because it makes it like tangible. Okay, so let's continue. So now it's going to write the hook. So I have a hook skill that is going to call, and then it's going to write the hook. And the reason why I have a hook skill that is separate from this workflow is because there's a specialized skill that I would prefer AI to put in a good amount of compute to actually think through it, because if AI is doing it, if it's within the workflow, it can get a little bit confusing and get lost. But write hook is a separate specialized skill that's going to be called. And then it's going to write the writing voice, which is going to transform that hook into a hook that sounds like me. I'm going to ask it to run the writing logic skill, because sometimes AI writes something, but it's not logical. Like it doesn't flow. Like there's clear gaps on each sentence. So I'm gonna be ahead of here. I'm gonna ask, can you run the writing logic skill before you write the hook, and then run the writing voice. So this is an example of me using skill systems. So I have skills prepared previously that I can then have AI do this. I can then tell AI, do this, use this skill, then use this skill, then use this skill. Because if I have AI write, specifically writing is, again, very complex, unpredictable, very volatile. If I want it to do the work correctly, then I need it to follow these skills step by step. Because if AI writes naturally by itself, it's going to sound like AI slop. Okay, so real quick, these are the main skills that I use. So the write skill is an orchestrator skill that teaches Claude how to route towards all of these skills. So it will call these skills sequentially so it can eventually write the newsletter. So for example, writing logic, if I pull this up, writing logic pretty much gives Claude the thinking on how to write sentences that a reader will continue reading or so on. Because the way that AI writes is like so random. Sometimes it says a random sentence out of nowhere. So like these are the principles it follows. Every sentence answers a question the reader is holding. Write like you're speaking, not presenting. So what the reader's 6 questions. Where do you get this idea? What's the idea? Why does it matter? How does it affect me? What do I do with this? What's next? Okay, so like all this stuff is like, don't assume, earn it. Logic must be consistent. Ground before you reference. Clear over theatrical. So like these are all the things that I want Claude to use so that it actually makes sense. So that's a writing logic skill. So let's see here. Now it's calling the writing logic skill. It's going to write the hook, and then it's going to then transform it into the way that I talk in my voice. And the reason why you have different skills, not one skill, is because AI is very bad at doing 2 different goals at the same time. You know, especially with writing. Getting it to write and make sense, and then getting it to write in your voice, it's not going to work, because AI is like always going to bias towards going to writing AI slop or writing the way that it writes. So you need to give it a specific target, focus, write this way. Once it's done, get this output, then run the next filter. Kind of like running through process, running it through a filtration process. That's basically how you can get AI to write like you. Okay, so it wrote the hook here, which doesn't seem too bad. Let me make this easier so it's easier to read. Open preview. Okay, so something has shifted in most business owners over the last 12 months, and almost nobody's naming it out loud. AI started handling the work that used to eat their week. Output got cleaner, and calendars got lighter, and the speed felt like, okay, this is absolute AI slop. So as you can see here, we got the logic sort of right, like the sentences make sense, but now let's see what happens when you run the voice, which should completely strip out all the AI-isms. Hopefully. Let's see. Okay, so this does sound like AI slop here. So I'm going to give AI a little bit more guidance to clean this up. This is just me showing you how things work. You know, AI isn't going to be perfect. Sometimes AI writes good. Again, writing is one of the most complex things to get AI to do. It's almost impossible to get it run a clean sweep right off the start. So this is something that you'll need to build and write and improve over time. But probably still faster than writing everything yourself. So what I'm asking AI now is to look through this and use an active voice. Because if you notice, AI is writing here very passive. Something has shifted. Like, okay, then they check the bank account, the number. Like, it sounds so distancing. Like, it's not relatable to me as a reader. Like, it feels like monologue. It doesn't feel like I'm having a conversation with you. Okay, so let's see what AI made here. So I've been having the same conversation with business owners for the last 6 months. They run AI all day, ship work faster than they ever have, and at the end of the quarter, they check their P&L and find the same number they had a year ago. You already know AI made you faster. You already know your output looks sharper, and you already know you haven't earned the money you expected when you start using AI seriously. The reason isn't that you're using AI wrong. AI doesn't generate wealth by saving you time on task. AI generates wealth when you stop using it as a tool and start running it as an employee. And I know what you're probably thinking. You already tried using AI better 3 different ways this year, and you still see the same number when you check the bank account. You don't need to use AI better. You need to build the 3 assets that turn AI from a draft assistant into an employee that earns money while you sleep. Most business owners only ever build one of them. Okay, this is solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask AI to update the skill system. So I know this video is raw. I'm showing you like how I build stuff so you guys can understand what it takes to actually have AI run a process with you. It's not perfect all the time. So I'm going to go ahead. I told this is much better output. Can we update the skill system with this approach? Update newsletter workflow, and let's continue with the next phases. Okay, so while AI is working on updating that, I want to give a little bit some insight over here. So if you notice, the title says why most business owners will never get wealthy from AI. The hook naturally matches it. So this is why when you write good content, every sentence needs to flow into the next one. So if you have AI write naturally or by like default, it's going to do a really poor job. It's going to sound very, very theatrical like we did before. So you can see clearly what bad output looks like and what good output looks like when we use the right skill and the right flow. Now, unfortunately, we got unlucky here. Claude didn't really do what it's supposed to do, but this is a good thing because I can show you the power of using the right skills at the right time. So sometimes, when you work with AI, it's not going to be perfect. That's why skills exist, and you guide AI to do stuff, and you always improve the system, the skills, and so on. Skills are never perfect. There's always something you need to work on. You're always going to find edge cases. You're always going to find some breaks over here, some things that don't really work out. So you just need to keep on improving the skill. Okay, because I asked Claude to update, it's going to update the right hook skill. So it's going to use that, and then it's going to also update the newsletter workflow to use a specific process. Okay, so now we've got the hook locked in. Claude is going to start working on planning out the meat of the newsletter. So the reason why we put in a lot more effort on the hook is because, again, if your hook is bad, no one's going to read your newsletter. So the hook is what gets people wanting to read your newsletter. So this is why we treat this as a separate step. So now it's going to go into phase 2. All right, so phase 2, which is pretty much the formatting or the structure that I use to format different sections of a newsletter. So I like following the what, why, where framework. So I like to introduce a concept, explain why it matters, what is the output of it, what is the consequences, positive, negatives, and then what should you do about it, or like where should you look to fix that. Okay, so there's section 1, connections, section 2, intellectual intelligence. It's not intelligent asset. It's intellectual property. But I think that's fine. We can use intelligent asset. Section 3, the workflow, which is a production asset, which is a skill. So I'm going to say yes, looks good. So now once AI has a generic view of what are the topics we're going to cover, so like what, why, where, how it opens to the next section, what, why, where, how it opens to the next section, then it's going to plan out the visuals. And I think that I use this framework called the seed framework, which I like. So the seed framework is like show a concept, extend the concept, expose the insight, and then direct people to what to do. It's kind of like a little bit of extension, what, why, where, but it works really well with visuals. So this looks good. So it actually went ahead and created an example of a visual over here and here. So let's continue. Yes, works. So already, again, in the brief, previously already thought about this. I thought a good way to explain getting AI as an employee, you need to sort of treat like a human employee. A human employee, if you hire someone or you have a company that has humans that's working, that's generating output, that's generating revenue in your business, well, that's wealth, because that's something that works without you being on the clock. And that's what most traditional businesses talk about. Hey, hire, delegate, and automate and all this stuff so you can, make money without you needing to work. Well, that's the old way, but that still applies to AI. So with human, it requires training, access to assets, and then SOPs that allows them to do the work. AI employee is the exact same thing, just a little bit different. Okay, so now it's going through, so it's going through section 2, step by step. And it's figuring out what visuals can we use for each part of it. So show, extend, expose, direct. These are the visuals, comics, comparison frameworks. I have another skill called the visual content skill that pretty much gives Claude my styling of skills of visuals that I like, and it generates visuals for me. So then Claude will be able to put in the text and embed the visuals so the newsletter looks very neat and clean. So now it's going through section 3. It's going to have 3 visuals as well. So I'll say, sure. I'm just going to continue. So now it's going to go through a concept chain. So it's going to make sure that all the sections, concepts add to each other and they actually have a persuasion piece to it, or like a perspective shift. Now it's going, because like I have some like behavioral science or psychology here that goes into like how to get people to get a perspective shift. So there should always be an emotional peak in your content. So the emotional peak here is you should not be prompting Claude, you should be building skills. So it identified that. So I'm gonna say yes, let's go. Then it's gonna go into step 6, which is the logic chains, making sure everything logically connects, because you wanna make sure that the logic is there so AI doesn't, again, write random stuff. So I'm gonna click on yes. I'm gonna say yes to continue. This looks good. Now, if you think about this, this is work that took me months and months to get to pretty much extract all the thinking process, all of the frameworks, all the ways that I think in writing content and creating content in a way where Claude can run through it like a checklist, like an SOP. So this in itself is a thinking process, a complete skill system, complete workflow that Claude can run end to end. Now, obviously we came up with a problem earlier, but we fixed that. But over time, this skill system will improve, it will get better. And as the models get better, my skill system will be better and I get more leverage over time. So this is a key thing about building skill systems, is that over time, what you build, you need to eat the complexity. So there's so much complexity that goes into writing, right? So I've pretty much eaten up all the complexity by giving it frameworks and giving it a step-by-step workflow, or like to-do list, or like pretty much phases over here to go through all this stuff so that it actually does the way that I want to. Okay, so phase 3 is writing section by section. Per the workflow, each section gets a write call followed by a humanizer subagent before moving to the next section. So this is, the hook is already done. So it's gonna write, and then as AI writes, a subagent is going to review that writing. So let's see, hiring AI is the same as hiring a person. 3 things, or it doesn't actually work. Okay, this is, okay, a person walks in one day, they need access to accounts, they need training in how you do the work. They need an SOP that tells them what runs every shift without you in the room. Drop any of those 3 and they sit at their desk all day looking. AI employees follow the exact same shape with the vocabulary swapped. Connections, IP workflow, wire all 3 and AI runs the work. Drop any assigned back to chat. Okay, so this we'll need to improve this. Again, like when you get AI writing the first time, it's gonna write AI slop, so you need to filter. So that's why we're getting AI to write first, and then we get AI later to then call the other skills to clean things up. Because getting AI to write one shot perfectly is impossible. You're just gonna get AI slop. Think back to the last person you hired. Day 1, they walked in, they were sharp, they wanted to work, and then you spent the mornings sending them their logins, your server, your inbox, your project tools, your calendar, your file storage. Till you finish sending those, they sat at their desk, could only talk about work, not actually do it. AI sits at the same desk. By default, Claude has 0 access to your Notion, your Substack. Okay, this is perfect. This is actually good. That's why your AI feels like a smart consultant instead of an employee. You hired the brain, you never gave it the keys. Most owners run AI this way for a year and then conclude AI just isn't good enough for their business yet. The AI is fine. The setup is half built. Connection is the first asset. It's the one most owners do think about, kind of, but never finish wiring properly. They give Claude one integration, see it half work, and then stop. Okay, this is not bad, but let's see what happens. So now it's running an agent. It's going to review it. It's going to clean things up, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so the agents on the background are cleaning up as we write. And the reason why we use subagents in the background is because it doesn't have the context pollution of the main agent. Because if you use the main agent, it's just going to be, it has way too many goals, way too much memory like load, where it's not going to do the job properly. So we can see some improvements here. So more filler words. So like, so think back to the last person. And let's see here what changes they made. So the AI is fine, but the setup is half built. So like it's less like broken up sentences. And you've probably been opening a fresh chat. So I like using these words. So now it sounds way more the way that I talk and speak. So the AI is fine, but the setup is half built. Okay, so this is good. Yes, let's continue. Now, ideally, as you're writing this, you'd potentially write multiple newsletters at once, so you can multitask, and so you can get more things done at one time. Or you can get more newsletters published in one time. Okay, so now AI wrote the next section. So most owners get Claude's defaults. The M dash Claude loves, the in today's world openers, the bullet list when prose would land harder, the polite hedge phrases that drain a sentence of its punch. By default, Claude sounds like every other ChatGPT user because every other ChatGPT user runs it the exact same way you do. Think about the same new hire. Would you wire up their accounts? They just sit down and draft a sales email that's perfectly fine, but doesn't sound like you. They CC'd people you'd never CC. They opened with, I hope this email finds you well. They closed with 3 exclamation points. They had access to everything, and the work still came out generic because nobody told them how you run things. Claude does the same thing. Okay, cool. Your IP is a training. It's basically 4 things stacked. Your frameworks, your decisions, your taste, your judgment. Stack these 4 and hand them to AI. Now AI doesn't write the way Claude's trained. It writes the way you trained it. Okay, so this is second asset, and so one most owners skip entirely. They keep prompting Claude. Okay, this isn't bad. This is good. Now AI is going to run, again, the voice review, and then it's going to run the, it's going to run the voice review, and let's see. Okay, this isn't too bad. Claude made a few adjustments. Let's continue with section 3. It's going to write section 3. All right, so it's writing section 3, and then it's going to go ahead with the agent review. All right, so Claude wrote the last section, which is every business runs on 4 buckets: content delivery, admin, and sales. The AI wealth triangle wires into each one the same way. You build a skill for each bucket. Each skill builds your IP. Each skill connects the right accounts, and each skill fires on a trigger. Now AI staffs 4 jobs while you sleep. So there's a visual. It's going to create. Now look at what actually changes for your day to day. You just wake up to review what shipped overnight instead of deciding what to do. You get Saturday back. You stop worrying the business, start designing what runs it. Another visual over here. So, and then there's a CTA over here for people to join the community. So the agents are doing the quick review, and then once that's done, we're going to proceed to creating the visuals. Okay, so we have the full newsletter ready. The next steps is Claude is going to do the final passes or quality control filtration phases. So it's going to first do humanize. It's going to go through everything here. Then it's going to do a behavioral science audit. It's going to identify how can we make this a little bit more persuasive. Then it's going to use a voice. So it's going to review one more time anywhere where it can make it sound more like me. And then step number 13, it's going to format it to look like a Substack newsletter. Pretty much adding in some bold, some italics, breaking up some line breaks so it looks easier to read. And finally, we're going to go with the visuals. So agent 1 is doing the humanize, then these all going to be done by sub-agents. Okay, so Claude just finished going through all of the removing all the AI-isms, making it sound like a human, the final pass. Now it's going through this skill that I call the behavioral science audit, and it pretty much identifies how can we make this sound more persuasive. So it gave us some options over here. I'm not talking about the owners still treating AI as a search bar. I'm talking about the ones who use it every day, ship more than ever, and still feel like operating instead of the owner. This is good. Every business runs on 4 buckets. Now picture Friday afternoon, you shipped twice as much content as last month, your inbox is empty, and you haven't started a Claude conversation in 3 days. That's what wiring all 4 buckets looks like. Okay. Look, 10 founder spots. 6 months from now, you're either the owner reviewing what AI shipped overnight, or you're still done pasting context into fresh. Okay. If you spent the last year why AI saved you time without giving you're not behind, you were missing the asset most owners never get. So the workflow. Okay, perfect. Yes. All right. So Claude went and did all of the last voice adjustments. Now it's going to format the whole Substack it's going to format the whole newsletter to look like more like Substack. So as you can see here, it's already adding some bold. So added some bold over here, and it's going to go ahead and adjust the whole thing. Added some bold over here. So it's making it a little bit easier to read. All right, so I'm going to open it over here so it's a little bit easier to read. So now Claude is basically going to format this to be a little bit more readable for Substack. So it's Claude is running a called a agent with a formatting skill. So now the next step, what Claude is going to do is I have a skill called visual content skill. Let me show you very quickly here. Visual content skill. And what this skill is pretty much allows Claude to generate visuals using the Nano Banana Pro. And I have multiple workflows that Claude can look into to create different types of visuals. So in a moment, we'll see Claude creating visuals that we can embed into the newsletter. So that's going to be cool. And then because I'm using this extension here, I think it's called the Markdown extension on VS Code. Let me show you here. So I'm using this Office Viewer extension, so it kind of looks like so. So if you wanted to view it this way, you can. So what's going to happen is now AI is going to generate these visuals. I'm going to ask it to embed it. And in my visual content skill, I have a CLI that connects to the Nano Banana Pro. So it will send a prompt, and then it will get the visual, and then to get the visual, it will share it, and then it will embed it. So in the meantime, we also have a background agent cleaning up, making it easier to read. So the way that I like to write newsletter is sentence by sentence, just so it's easier to read. I don't like the super big paragraphs. It can work, but my style is more like short, snappy, direct, clear, to point. You get a quick perspective shift. You see the visual, it makes sense, and you get the idea. I don't really want people to put in a lot of intellectual or like mental effort in trying to decipher what I'm trying to say. I want it clear, easy, because my goal with newsletter is to make sales, not to give value. You know, I'll still give value, insightful content, but the goal is to get people to get an insight, understand, help them take action, and then potentially become a client. You know, the goal here is to run a business, not just create content just for the fun of it. And if you're the same, then you like the newsletters, and you'll probably follow along. You probably like my philosophy then. All right, so let's see the visuals it's generated. So I created a visuals folder. As you can see, I have a lot of letters, but we can see the visuals. So this is the visual created. The editorial visual, I think we'll slightly improve it, but these are the visuals it created. So this isn't too bad. So I prefer to be a little bit more colorful. So this is the problem, is that this was very lazy. So I'm going to ask Claude. So this is another thing about AI. Okay, so created, regenerate, please. Regenerate, please. So it edited visuals, which I don't really like. I wanted to completely regenerate. This thing with AI is very like unpredictable. So this is stuff where, you know, we're reaching like 50% of the context window here. So maybe a better idea here was to start a completely new context window to do the visuals. But this is something that I will need to adjust. So this is the part where you want to do the last 10%. So first 10% was a newsletter brief. 11% is making the edits, cleaning up the visuals, and making things work. Now, I wouldn't say this is like a waste of time. I know like so many people are so focused on making things are 100% automated. You can't do everything 100% automated because there's the small part of it that will allow you to get the results requires your taste and judgment. So me spending a little bit of time here to adjust these visuals, to make the adjustment to the newsletter, is going to allow me to get more results in the long term because a newsletter is an asset of itself, right? Other people in the future will be able to read the newsletter over and over again. I could then take that newsletter and transform it into a YouTube channel. You know, there's different things that I could do. Okay, so yeah, real quick. So this is a better output, but I'm gonna say, hey, let's make sure this still follows the Excali draw feel using Excali font. Okay, so this is more of my style, but like I wanted to follow the font that I use. Okay, so this is perfect. I like this visual a lot. So connections, workflow, IP, so I can use this visual. This pretty much fits the style that I use in my Substack. If you subscribe to my Substack, you'll see that. Perfect. So this is exactly how I want it to look like. Human employee, there's training, SOP, access. Right? So you need training to understand how it does. So AI employee is intellectual property, workflow, which is a skill, and then connections. So it's trained on your IP, it runs on a schedule, and it's wired into a infrastructure or stack that does the work. So that's how I get AI employee to pretty much generate 12. So let's see what other. All right, so Claude just went and embedded all of the visuals. So you can see this is the cover image. This is the hook. This is section 1, visual here, visual here, visual here, visual here, visual here. Next section, visual, 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 section, visual, 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 and then a CTA. So yeah, Claude wrote the whole newsletter. And if you can imagine, like I didn't write anything. I just guided AI to write. So with this in mind, now the execution part of writing is not on me. It's not my responsibility. It's now AI. And my goal is just to guide AI. So with this in mind, I could potentially have like 3 tabs open working on 3 different newsletters. And now I have way more leverage and so on. So this is done. So next phase is we're going to publish this onto Substack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new chat and I'm going to ask Claude. I'm going to copy this. And this might take a while, but how Claude does this is it uses Playwright MCP to then paste everything. So I gave Claude access to my Substack account. It will open up the website and then it will pretty much like paste everything for me. I'll just show you the end output. It will take like a few minutes. I'll show you how it looks in a minute, but I'm gonna show you how to do it. Hey Claude, can you upload this with the images inside of on Substack? Okay, so what I do is Claude will just do this. I'm going to bypass permissions just so that it can go through all of this. And then once it's done, we'll be right back and I'll show you the end output. All right, so now Claude uploaded everything onto Substack for me. The last step that I would do is I would read through this and try to clean up anything that doesn't sound or look clear or sounds weird. So for example, we didn't have a title here. I added that. I put in some more clarity over here. And what I would do is I would read through the newsletter and then see if there's stuff that I could delete, stuff I could adjust, clean up, and so on. So again, the concept here is I'm not expecting perfection from AI, especially now, because especially writing content, getting AI to write perfect is impossible. So next step would be for me to clean this up, and then I would go ahead and publish this to my email list. And then once I'm done this newsletter, next steps would be I would then take this newsletter, give it to AI, and then AI would be able to then convert that into content pieces that would share onto other social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube community post, X, Threads, and so on. Now, if you want access to skills like this and other skills that I would be creating, such as skills systems for YouTube, for creating skills, newsletter, content, and so on, I'm launching a new community called the Chief Leverage Officer Community. So if you want more details on that, you can click the link below and you'll be able to get access to these skill systems and more. Now, the core thing about the community is our goal is to get us to build AI infrastructure that will do 80% of the work in our business. Okay. And then you're able to do that to a point where then you can potentially rent out your AI employees or the skill system that you have to other people so you can monetize that and eventually build a business that is run by AI employees, and you can make money out of it. So if that is of interest of you, feel free to check the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.